B-Boy Boogie, the Breakologist episodes. I'm here with Jerry Valme, my partner in crime, representing Romania and Philly, USA, here in the States, I hope worldwide. And we're gonna be talking about some interesting stories, so check it out.
What's up, y'all? Just as Buggy said, the name is Jerry Valme. I used to go by Soul Junkie, and the way I would break that down was, I'm the man with the soul in his soul, and I'm addicted to the dance. This was my name with me when I lived in New York, originally from New York, Queens, Jamaica, Queens, and then 2 years ago, I moved to Philadelphia. I live in West Philly, not born and raised, but where does my story start? Well, just like everybody else, I started in high school. I was around 13, transitioning into 14. I was real shy. I feel like most dancers are. We're super shy. We don't know how to really communicate very well. And just something about this dance just brings life to you as an individual. And one of the biggest things that I take from it is my history. Something that used to bother me was the fact that when other people would talk about the history of breaking, most of them, at least the people I hung around with, they were there when it, first came to life. So they have that real history about it, right? And everyone, just like one of my mentors in New York, he used to say, his name is Quickstep, and he used to say, everyone has a piece of the puzzle. You get the puzzle together, then you can see the bigger picture, right? So I can only talk about my history, because that's the only history that I know, right? So for me, I saw breaking when I was really young. I didn't know what it was. Got into junior high school, transitioning into high school, You Got Served came out. That made me go, I can do this, but I didn't know how to, I didn't know, and I wasn't one of those people that's like, oh, let me watch the video over and over so I could do it. I wasn't one of those people, right? Got into high school, and I didn't know what this move was called at the time, but being for as long as I've been breaking for it, now I know it's called swipes. I saw someone just doing swipes in the cafeteria, and they were traveling, right? They started here, they're going over here. And in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I'd love to learn that, because now it's in my face, right? I was too shy to go up to that person, so a friend of mine decided to go talk to him. His name is Wonkley Shea Butter. He's also from NYC. That was my first original teacher for breaking. And my friend came back, he's like, yo, let's meet up after school, and we're gonna learn. I'm like, oh, snap, for real? Joined the breakdancing club in the school. And now I've been going strong for 12 years now. That's how long I've been breaking. Now, I've been breaking seriously for about 7-8 years. Took it serious in 2008. At one point, I stopped breaking. So like, I was breaking seriously. I was breaking for fun when I first started. 2006, I almost stopped, and then met a street hitter, and his name is Float Master John. If you go to New York and you ask for Float Master John, he's the reason why a lot of people now are dancing on the streets, which is also known as hitting. I like to call it site-specific work, and this is the terminology that I've learned working in the theater, right? So one of the biggest things that I took about dancing on the street, you had people watching you, so you would always go home, you had that inspiration to come back and do something even more magnificent. You learn how to become a showman, right? You learn how to really present yourself. Instead of just doing the moves, you're like, oh, now you're communicating with people, like your movement is coming out to them. That's what reignited my life into the breaking scene, right? It was street performing, hitting. And Float Master John was the person that I would say kept me alive with that. My friends, Shay, he would always come back to me, and then his partner in crime, Seymour, they both would be like, yo, come to the door, which is a spot in New York where if you were a kid, that was the spot that you would go to like train and come up. And the mentors there were Rockefeller and Quickstep. They're the creators of Full Circle, which was created in 1992. And in 2009, that's when I became a member of Full Circle. 2011 was when I became a serious performer, because they sat us down and said, there's more to breaking than just competitions. And that's the biggest thing that I took from it. And I appreciated that big time, because I realized, you know what? There is more to it. And theater was the world. Because I'm not breaking for this long for me to not do anything with it. Why? There's a lot of dope breakers, but then at the end of the day, you're going through all these injuries, and what for? Just to compete off of people's opinions? That's cool and whatnot, but I felt like I could do more with it. And they sparked something in me when it came to performing. I never heard what they were saying. It was going through, but it didn't stick with me until I met someone else that I met through them in 2009. We went to the Shakespeare Organ Festival, and I met Raphael Xavier, and when I met him, he brought me into the theater world in a different headspace, where if you talk to someone and you say, hey, you want to learn how to break dance? People automatically go, oh, I don't know, that's so hard. Like, I see it, but I don't see me doing it. Working with him, he lets you create work where you have longevity as a dancer. Most of the time when you're performing, you're on level 10. Our bodies can only handle level 10 for so long before we have to take a long break or injuries kick in, right? So with Rav, he made it accessible to anyone at any age. And that was the approach about his style that I really appreciated, especially as a performer. So when I move with him now, it's like my body still gets sore, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had muscles here and there. And because of that, it made me look at it in a different view. Now, the transition into going to Philly was big, because as a New Yorker, you're always around this raw energy of moving, this raw energy of creating. At some point, it got stale to me, because, you know, I'd go to practice spots where everyone was going. So it just felt as though everyone would practice to try to do something different that somebody else was doing. So if I'm watching you practice, I'm picking up subconsciously, I'm picking up your moves. And when I see that, it's like, I need something different. I went to Philly for an event, and there was a party called Second Sunday. I went there, and when I went to Second Sunday, the most beautiful thing happened. I see all these dancers super funky, the way they were grooving, it made me feel like I couldn't dance. And at that moment, that's when I was all like, yo, there's something here. I kept going back to perform with Raph, and throughout those times that I would perform with him, it made me realize that I've been wanting to move from New York for a long time, didn't know how to transition until I had a conversation in the car with him and another individual, and that moment made me go, you know what, let me go to Philly. And I kept learning everything that I could learn, and I put it all into my body. So now when I compete, you hear people say, oh, out of New York with that Philly flavor. And when I hear stuff like that, it feels good, because I feel like that transition to Philly definitely improved me as a dancer, and it helped me understand who I am as a person. And I found myself more within the dance. And dancing is not the only thing that I do. I'm also a personal trainer, which I've only gotten into that world because I met another dancer, and that dancer put me on. And ever since I got into fitness, I've realized that it's really important. Through the injuries that I've had, my rotator cuff got torn, my arm popped out like twice, I'm injured now with my knee, and through those injuries you learn more and more about techniques that you can use to take care of yourself. And I feel like with my knowledge behind fitness, that was one of the biggest changes for me also, because I never looked at fitness that important, other than, oh, you know, you got to push up for your basic strength and stretching so you have flexibility, because power comes from flexibility. And I feel like that moment of getting into fitness helped me as a dancer, because now I know what I need to do to take care of my body, to be able to push my limits further than I would before, right? With breaking, we all have the moves, we just have to unlock them, right? And there's certain things we can do to take care of ourselves so we can move in ways that we wouldn't be able to imagine. So I feel as though, like, as long as we take care of our bodies, we can definitely continue to move as individuals into further spaces. Other than that, I could talk all day. So I'm gonna leave you guys with that. Thank you for sitting down and listening to the things that I had to say. I hope you appreciate a little bit of my history. Peace.